Hello YouTube, today I'm going to be building some tie rods for my 2008 Chevy Silverado 3500. The reason why I'm building new tie rods is the ones I have don't last too long. They're by a company, let me get you in there, company called FabTech. Don't get me wrong, they're a great product. Well, they're a good product, but they just don't last me. They only last me a couple months. Then I start getting slop on the steering. This is the FabTech one. Like I say, I buy a lot of these because I go through tires a lot if I don't change them. They're heavy duty compared to the stock ones. The stock ones I would snap them when I would go into four-wheel drive because of my 14 wides. These I haven't snapped, but the problem I get is the ball joints get loose. And it's not so much the one that goes on the knuckle or the spindle, it's the one that goes on the center leak. It starts getting slop on it, and you start feeling the play in the steering, which in turn makes the wheel wobble and chew up your tire more than it should, more than it needs to. So my solution to that is build some Heim joints. They sell already a Heim kit already, Heim tie rod kit, but I don't want to pay $750, so I'm gonna build my own. I already started, as you guys can see. I'm gonna be using this pipe and these Heims. This pipe is, I believe, quarter wall, and the Heims are 3/4 as well. These should last me longer and shouldn't get, hopefully, no play. It should outlast, the truck. I got these in Home Depot. These L brackets that are quarter thick. This one was straight and this is an L. So I just made the bracket how I needed to, and I welded it up. Then I have this strap, same thickness material, that I'm gonna weld here to box it in and make it more stronger and beefier. After that, I just have to make the hole more centered and drill it out bigger for my bolt that has to go through the center leak. The bolt that goes through and bolts onto the center leak. And no, my tie rods isn't going to be this long. I just welded both ends of the center link because I had free time. I should have recorded, but it didn't come into mind that I could make a YouTube video out of this. So after I get the length, I measure and get the length I need, I'll just chop it and weld in the other ends. I also bought these boots off of eBay. Help them get, keep the sand, water, and debris out of the Heims to make them last longer. But let's get started. Now that I cut the pieces that I needed, it's time to square it up. As you can see, I'm gonna tack it in first and then weld it all around and do the same thing to the back side and to the other side. That will help and straighten up this, so if something were to ever happen, like if I lose a wheel or something, this should hopefully keep it from splitting open or cracking. And I'll be using a Lincoln 210 welder to do it. Now these are welded up all nice. I just grinded them down a bit so it can be rounded off and have no sharp edges. But these should hopefully not break because I made them real robust and heavy duty. So I shouldn't have any problems with these coming apart. But I'll be checking it from time to time just to make sure, I don't want it to break and then have a wheel go one way and then make me crash. Now the next step I have to do is, as you can see, I kind of marked it with a pen or a marking pen, is make a hole for the bolt that will go through this bracket into this and bolt up to the center leak. But I do not have a drill bit this size, and it's going to be a hassle to drill it because it already has a hole. And I can fill it up with weld, but the problem is it gets hard to drill through when you weld something. So what I'm going to do is grab my plasma cutter and just cut around and being nice and precise to make that hole a little bit bigger and more to the center instead of off to the sides. But she's coming along nicely, you guys. I finished plasma cutting the holes that I needed. Oops, they're still a little bit hot. The holes I needed. So you can see it leaves it a little bit jaggedy, but not too bad. It won't hurt. Oops. Reason I made again these holes are to fit these bolts as they do. And I had to center it so I can put my socket in and not have an issue with tightening it up. Now what I have to do is pull the old FabTech tie rods from my truck and start getting measurements, as well as I'm gonna have to measure this bolt and cut it to size, because GM's tie rods usually only use like from here to here thread, so I have way more than I need, but these were the shortest I could get them. So what I did was got enough for them. So I'll measure, I'll screw it in and see how much play I have. Then from there I'll measure, I'll just stick the nut, grind off the part I don't need, and back the nut off, and my threads should be fine. Should be good and fine. And I'll have a shortened bolt to the size I need. Alright, sorry for a little wind noise. I have my fan on. It's kind of hot here. So what I had to do first was drill my knuckle out so I can put a straight bolt through it. That way I can tie my Heim. Now that my Heim is secured, well, it's not bolted down, but it's, you know, it doesn't have play or anything because I made the hole snug. That's secured to my knuckle. I have to do basically the same thing over here to the center link. So what I did, the bracket that I made for the Heim, I bolted it in, and I had to shave down the bolt that I was talking about with the nut. So now it's tight there too. So now all I have to do is put both Heims, which they are, line them up pretty close, and then take a measurement from this bung, from right here of the bung to the edge of the bung to this edge of the bung, and that will tell me how much my center tie rod tube has to be, how long it has to be. And I have these kind of midway in, because you don't want them all the way in, because then you won't have adjustment to open them up. I mean, you'll have adjustment to open them up, but not close them up, and vice versa. If I pull them all the way out, it'll be right at the end of the thread, and if I have to open it up to take this wheel out, I won't be able to, because it'll fall right out. So it's right in the middle. This should hopefully do, because the truck was aligned with the FabTech ones, but they just got sloppy. So that's why I left it. I pulled the tie rod out, I left the steering wheel straight, I locked it, and I didn't move this rim, the driver's side rim, so or wheel, so the distance wouldn't change. And I'm gonna have to do the same thing to the other side, because I don't know, maybe one side could be shorter, could be longer. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to do it the same size as the driver's side and then the passenger side not work, or it doesn't come out how I would like it to come out. So now I'll just measure, like I said, cut my tube and weld one of these ends to that tube. Well, you guys, one side is basically done. As you guys can see, we measured it, measured it, then I just cut it from the tube that I already had it welded one end, and I just had to weld the other one. Now she's there perfectly fine. Seems like everything's good. I have good distance and everything should line up the same way, and I have adjustment in and out if I need to. Nothing's tightening up because I still want to make sure, and I'm gonna make sure, and I want to paint this or powder coat it if I have time. That way it doesn't rust. But I like how it came out. Now I just have to do the other side. and this should make my steering more solid. It should take away a lot of the slack from the steering, besides my center support that anybody who owns a GM independent front suspension with wide tires will tell you your center support brackets, which are the idler arm and the pitman, go out. I have the support brackets that help protect them a little bit more, but they're still, you still get some play, but a little bit of play of the center support and no play here is gonna transmit to a great steering response. Well, you guys, I finished finally. As you can see, new tie rods are in, bolted down. The bracket I made, bolt on the center leak. It's good to go. And hopefully you guys can see this, but there's no movement on that tire whatsoever. Maybe slightly, but not as aggressive as it was. This was the one from the passenger side. You can see, very loose. Let me see if I can show you guys a little bit better. When it's off the truck, you can't really tell. I mean, you can feel how loose it is, but you can't really tell the play it has until it was on the truck and you move that tire back, that wheel back and forth, that it had so much slop. Now it has none. I ended up painting it instead of powder coating it, because my fitting for my powder coat gun messed up and I ran out of black powder coat. So I'll leave that for a later date, but thankfully I finished the tie rod install. I aligned it using a tape measure. I still have to take the truck to a line to get aligned, but for the meanwhile, she's ready to go and I can drive it at least for today until my appointment for the alignment. And just in case you guys were wondering what was the thickness of the tube, as you can see, it's a quarter wall. So I don't think this bad boy can be snapping or breaking anytime soon. This is what I had left over from the tie rods, but hopefully my tie rods shouldn't fail anymore. They should last a very long time. I believe they will, because I did my sway bar links out of Heim's, because I had the same problem with the sway bar links, that the bushing would go out in like less than 5 months. So it was a hassle. I had warranty in all the parts, but it was just a hassle. So hopefully they should last quite some time. Hopefully they last about 5 years, if not more. I don't really off-road the truck, but when I do, they'll be there holding strong, unlike the crappy tie rods that I had. Thanks for watching the video today, you guys, and have a nice day.